Hello, welcome to Muscatine Viewpoint. I'm your host, Chad Bishop, and you've got it tuned in right here to Muscatine Access Channel 9. This is our 31st episode of the series in 2019. This is our 5th one, and we've got a great guest lined up today. We've got Kelcey, our Brackett here. He's an at-large council member. I usually don't like to show that shot until later. Jeremy, thanks. And we're just, so take it back to me, please. So thank you. So I'd like to remind everybody, we're on Facebook and Twitter. If you type in the hashtag Muscatine Viewpoint, I believe, you can tweet in your comments. And that's the hashtag for Facebook. Twitter's a different one, but that's our Facebook page. If you're watching this now, maybe get your laptop out, and there's our Twitter handle, Muscatine Viewpoint. You can tweet in your comments, and if you type in a comment on our Facebook live stream right now, assuming everything's up and running, those comments will show up, and we might be able to get a couple of those live on the air. We're also on YouTube, so maybe you know that because you're watching us on YouTube. And we rebroadcast at 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. all weekend as well. Okay. The opinions that we discuss today are mine and our guests, not Muscatine Power and Water, so I'd like to remind you that if you have an issue or complaint, call me up personally at my work number here, 288-6070, and we can hash it out. And if you'd like to be a guest on the show or have something positive to say, you can call that number as well, because this show is for the citizens to communicate. Okay. We've got a lot to talk about, and before we get to our guest, I want to let you know about something that's going on November 8th and 9th. It's the Muscatine Independent Film Festival. So Jeremy, if you'd get that graphic up. It's November 8th and 9th, and it's right here at MCC, the screenings, and then the after parties are at the Merrill Hotel, and the brand new River's Edge event loft, located upstairs at the Friendship Center, is where the awards party is, and a band named Sugarfoot is playing. So if you'd like to participate in that, go to our website, muscatinefilmfest.com. And also, if you are planning on coming, I'd highly recommend getting a room at the Merrill Hotel. It's a pretty nice place to stay the night, and especially our out-of-town guests and filmmakers will appreciate the ability to go to the after parties and then enjoy the downtown amenities through the Merrill Hotel. We have a world premiere, so Jeremy, if you could play the Baker trailer footage, it's on Media One, and I don't need the volume on. But Norman Baker, oh, that's the other one. We'll get to that in a minute. Norman Baker, I did a film called Man in Purple last year. That was the featurette short film version. This year, this is the one I actually have been working on for 2 or 3 years. It features a lot of local figures like Marv Krieger, my grandma Leora Fay, former Mayor Evelyn Shawland. There's Anna Mack, for example. And there's the star, really, Max Churchill, who played Norman Baker as a character. Jane Doffelt's one of the guests, former city Chamber of Commerce director. So anyway, we've got lots of different people that I interviewed and researched, and we researched, at length, Mr. Norman Baker. And this documentary is about the Baker Institute, which he ran right here in Muscatine, Iowa. There's Evelyn Shawland. So if you'd like to watch that, it's November 9th, Saturday at 2 p.m. right here at the Muscatine Community College. Tickets are available online. Get them while they last. Okay, Jeremy. Jeremy and me actually do films, and part of our job here at Muscatine Channel 9. And one of them that we're excited to debut as well, world premiere, never before seen, is a sci-fi film that he produced, and I did. We both produced, and he directed and wrote. It's called 72 Seconds. We're actually going to give you a chance to watch the 72-second long trailer right now. If you're interested in watching that, again, it's at MIF, November 8th, Friday at 7 p.m. So if you have that queued up, Jeremy. Well, okay. Here's sound for them. See this?
Sarah, stop it. Okay, just stop.
No, tell me, give me our daughter.
Sarah,
Give me our daughter.
let go.
I leave here, and then I come back, but everything's different. You look different. Where is Lily?
It's too bad your father doesn't care about us.
Send me back. Let me make things right.
This isn't Earth. Something's wrong.
I'm gonna save you both.
What do you mean I'm not supposed to be here?
Okay. I thought about bringing those.
David, open the damn
Yeah, I gotta get back to the humor of this show. It's freaking serious. You can't. But you gotta be. Okay, again, Muscatine Independent Film Festival is November 8th and 9th, and you'll be reading about that in the Muscatine Journal and Discover Muscatine and the Voice of Muscatine. We have 3 great media outlets available for Muscatine residents because all 3 of them have reached out and are excited to help us promote and give opportunity for local residents and out-of-town filmmakers from Iowa and beyond, from Chicago, New Jersey, a chance to host them and have other opportunities in Muscatine. There's always something going on in Muscatine any given weekend, I think. Our guests can attest to that. Without further ado, let's find out what's going on with Kelcey today. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Chad.
Okay, so we got a lot of little big topics to talk about. The viewers can kind of enjoy them as they pop up. But before we get into that, I would like to know, you're a council member
Yes.
at large, and I've never had a council member at large and just interviewed them about being a council member.
Sure.
So tell us a bit about being a council member, what you like about it, some challenges, how long you've been doing it, that sort of thing.
All right. Well, I'm coming up on the end of 2 years, and it's a 4-year term. So, I'm not up for re-election this year. I'm obviously watching everything going on with the current election, but it's been interesting. And I think one thing that kind of had come up recently that a lot of people don't understand is it's a part-time job. It does pay, but it doesn't really pay a salary type level. It's $4,000 a year, so basically that covers the meetings that we attend, just the ones that we're required to attend for the most part. And there's a lot more work that goes into it than that. The other thing that I think some people don't realize too is that we don't have an office that we sit in. If you call the cell phone, the number listed for me on the city's website, then what you're going to end up with is my cell phone, and so that's just wherever I happen to be, I'll take that call, and I get calls, I get Facebook messages. It really turned out to be a little I had a pretty good idea I think of what to expect before I started, but it turned out to be quite a bit. Takes up quite a bit of time, and that's fine. I knew that I was getting into that. And just it's enjoyable. I feel like that we've made some positive changes here, and we've got a lot of things coming up, and we've had one of the things, and I know that you'd kind of asked me about it before, but we've got a lot of exciting things planned for along the riverfront and things along that nature, and people will. I see people on Facebook make suggestions about, we need this item or that item. Some of those things are actually planned,
Okay.
and you can go out to the city website and look at the comprehensive plan.
Go ahead and bring that website up, Jeremy.
And this is a spot where you can go through and you can see items that have been put on this long-term plan of what's going to happen in the city. And some of these things may or may not happen, but it's the goal to make those things happen. And so you can go out and take a look at this. And if you've got input on it or feedback, things that you want to bring to the city's attention, you can reach out to a council member, you can reach out to the mayor, you can reach out to a specific department about that particular item that you have an interest in. I know I've had people reach out to me and say, hey, I'd really think it would be great if we had handicap accessible swings in the parks, and that's something that the Parks Department's working on. I've had people reach out, and say, where do we find out about having a shelter put in this particular park? And I know I'm kind of lingering on parks, but I get quite a few contacts about those.
How much? Yeah, I'm just imagining, because you're really responsive when I inquire. It takes a lot of time then to really be there for everybody. Has it ever got overwhelming to the point where you feel like you're not able to adequately give everybody the time you need, or do you have a system where you kind of feel like you're able to communicate and help people?
Sure. It's one of those things. I keep a list of kind of ongoing issues, and there's definitely times where I have so many things coming in that it takes a little bit more time to get back to folks. And I know I had an email today, somebody asking, hey, by the way, are you still keeping an eye on this issue that they were having? They had to do with a landlord situation that I had some input on, but it really wasn't city council related, but because of the people that I've met through that role, I'm trying to help and point them in the right direction so they can resolve an issue with, that really came about through nothing that they did. The property that they live at was sold to a new owner. The new owners have decided to change a lot of things, and
Okay.
it's not been beneficial to the residents. So
That kind of reminds me another thing we wanted to get to up front as far as your kind of role in general. As a city council member, you spread out and you're a leader of sorts, and the Soapbox Derby, you might have touched on that, but I wanted to, since I did a plug for the film festival, where was that at as far as the...
So this year we ran into some issues. We had tried to move the Soapbox Derby to the fall because in past years, over the 4th of July, between scheduling, temperature, it gets excruciatingly hot, and we had a number of near or partial heat injuries at the last event that we held, which was in 2018. So we thought, okay, let's move it to the fall, and that'll relieve the temperature issue. Well, we ran into issues with the street this year. So 3rd Street ended up being tore up for construction work. They did not anticipate it running as long as it did. And what happened though is Muscatine has old streets, Muscatine has old infrastructure underground. And once they peeled back that street surface, they found a very old sewer that was actually brick construction. Running alongside it, there was actually a wooden water main. So those, it was not in operation, but the remnants of it was still there. So, they found things like that underground and had to work around that. And I know they tried to get it done in time, but based on what status it was at, I had no option but to cancel it. And then, of course, they were able to cover the street right before the event would have taken place. So,
But what I appreciate what you said is that you were trying to have your event at a time when the weather is exactly perfect. And I have a couple solutions for that. I was an advocate of having an indoor dome where the soccer complex out of the parking lot. I thought that'd be great to have an indoor soccer area so we can have the football team practice, so we can have sporting events in a temperature controlled environment, to alleviate skin cancer and issues like that. But I do know that the Muscatine Mall would be a great place for bringing an indoor environment. I think there's even trees in the hallway there. So maybe you should have your event indoor, not the Soapbox Derby. But no matter how hard you try, the weather's going to be too hot, too cold. I mean, it's just a challenge for outdoor events. And I'm glad you try to juggle it, but really, who knows? It could be.
We're seeing that right now with Halloween tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, when was the last time we had this kind of weather on Halloween? I mean, we've had it before. It's Iowa.
Yep.
You never know what's going to happen. I think people probably had their air conditioning on a week ago, and now we've got snow on the ground. But
when it's hot out or cold out, it actually allows your body a chance to actually burn more calories. So it's kind of healthy to get out and about. So if you notice that you're just not able to get out and about because of the temperature fluctuations, then it's a good sign that your body's trying to tell you, get some exercise, challenge yourself to leave the house, to walk outside, to enjoy nature. And I don't know, because I can relate to that. It's times when I'm not in shape or feel less than healthy, get out and about. And you can't satisfy everybody's physical needs, and that's why we can stream the Soapbox Derby and whatnot.
Yeah,
but
and it can be a challenge for to find time. I mean, that's one of the issues I run into is finding time to get exercise in. And so I make a point that I walk through the downtown pretty regular, and just kind of take a look at what's going on there. I don't park very close to where I work.
Sneak in
during
exercise.
the day, so I easily put in just quite a few miles during the week just going back and forth to my car.
And I have a sauna in my basement. Some of you might know that, but It's the last thing you can always still do. Like, it's great for senior citizens because sitting in a sauna is basically just sitting in 98-degree weather. Your heart rate goes up, you perspire, it's good on your joints and relief. So if it is too hot for the soapbox derby next year, just think of it as a nice 1-hour workout. Just sitting in July heat is a great way to get your exercise in for the day.
Yeah, I do want to make a quick, since I touched on Halloween being tomorrow.
Okay.
And trick-or-treating's still on the same schedule. But if it's too, there's a number of people that have been posting on Facebook different options for taking small kids or people that can't be in extreme cold. If that's what we end up with, nursing homes, things like that, you can take the kids to. And,
oh, yep.
And I think the Salvation Army has something going
Art
on
Center.
as well. The Art Center. And another thing, just got to make sure people don't forget about it, is Stinky's House of Horrors.
Yeah.
Over on 11th
Freezer
Street.
for food.
And canned goods get you in the door, and get there early, because I know last couple of years the lines have been very long.
Yeah.
And
Nice and warm in there. And it's not freezing for food, is it? I'm getting my...
it goes along. I think it
I'm
goes
getting
along
my-
with freezing for food, but
'Cause you
I
will
know-
be freezing tomorrow.
I will be freezing.
Yeah.
I will be freezing. So see if you can find me there.
Nice. Oh,
If you can figure out who I am.
okay, let's switch modes here to the Riverfront develop, bring up that topic. And by the way, Jeremy, could you check every once in a while, if you are watching Facebook and you type in a comment and it's polite in nature and you have a question or whatnot, we should be able to put your comment or topic on the screen live. The same thing holds true with our Twitter handle, Muscatine Viewpoint, and our Facebook page on Channel 9 is Muscatine Access Channel 9 with the number 9. Okay, Riverfront development. I got a couple photos to show you, just to kind of get the ball rolling here. A couple years ago, specifically, we had phase 1 of Riverfront development, phase 2, Pearl to Mississippi. I think this is phase 3, but regardless of that, bring up that first photo because it'll jog my memory as to what I'm talking about. But I went to a couple city public meetings, and we hired a consultant to show us their proposal. We pay money, and they kind of give us this idea. And the meetings do you have that photo number 1, Jeremy? They came up with some pretty good ideas that involved some things like yep, perfect. Hold on that for a second so I can get all this out of my mind. Number 2, if you can read that, and that might not be a 2, I might need glasses, but that is a proposed floating dock for arts and entertainment. You can rent that, have a concert. Up there, a little higher to the left, would be a beverage garden option. They cited some other cities that have actually had concession stands and that sort of thing. Yeah, adult beverages included, but nice ice cream shop. Number 2, I can't see these numbers, but that is actually the Riverview Center. I snuck in a little idea of my own there, which was to have sand volleyball. I noticed that we have this great river, but not many people are renting the boat slips these days and the floods and all that sort of thing. So what better place to have a sand volleyball pit to bring a beach-like atmosphere to land lovers and get some exercise so that, in Kelcey's case, you don't maybe, stop by and you'll pick up volleyball. And it's great at Weed Park, by the way. I'm just saying, I threw that in. But here's the comprehensive plan and areas that we're going to improve. And go to the next slide so I can remember where I was going with this. Go to the next slide. Okay. That's where I proposed the sand volleyball court would go. And I'm glad it didn't happen soon because it would be washed out by now. But it's just sand. I mean, come on. That used to be a very popular place for Great River Days, art vendors. It's kind of an unused green space now, and we need the green space. But go to the next slide. I just want to remind people what it looks like when you're healthy and happy and playing on the beach. Now, the view from our sand volleyball wouldn't quite look like that. We would have the Mississippi River in the background. But other than that, that's what Muscatine residents have the potential to feel and look like while they're enjoying the beach, the river, but not having to deal with their issues they may or might have with the river. You might have heard some negative things that people say about the river. I love the river.
Well, I don't know. I saw some people wading in it the other day while the floodwaters were up. I don't know that I would choose that particular activity myself during floodwaters because they can oftentimes carry debris that you wouldn't want to come in contact with.
Well, I do have an epidermis, and it's created to adhere to those kind of things. And I would recommend washing your hands, though.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
I hear about runoff and cattle and chemicals, and stay inside. It's too hot to go to the soapbox derby.
I'm not talking about during the normal part of the year. I just mean during flood. When it's flooding, just as a kind of a public safety comment. you really should not wade in floodwater. This was up in the parking lot, and so what can occur? And we'll jump back onto your pleasant.
Well, I was
topic
one of those
here,
people
but-
kayaking all over the
But
place.
what can occur when the river's flooding is you can end up with sewage discharge from different areas, different towns along the river. And so it's one of the things you want to try and stay out of.
Kind of a way to connect with other communities.
Maybe not the best connection, but yeah.
But I hear you with not going into floodwaters, but they're so long and enduring that if you don't kind of get out there and try to make the best out of a bad situation, I mean, you can feel for people. It's kind of frustrating because we were locked out of months of prime riverfront season. Okay, here's the riverfront. A little further down, you can see the contraries up there. Kind of give you a frame of reference because some of these things aren't actually there at the moment. Pearl City Station is there on the lower right. They proposed having a dock there, not a Port City Authority type thing, but a place for the barges to dock. Kind of an opportunity for them to do some commerce.
Yeah, and I can explain a little bit about that as well. So one of the ideas with that particular dock would be, there are river boats, passenger boats that go up and down.
Oh, yeah.
That go up and down the Mississippi, and right now there's not a really good spot, for them to stop and let people off, And so one of the concepts was to have a better dock put in place so that we would be able to have those boats stop as they're going up and down the river and let passengers off to go through come through the downtown and, patronize our shops, stop at the restaurants, things along those nature. And so that would enable that. And that's something that's kind of on the long-term plan. There also, what you see in that picture is it's a little bit hard to tell from that picture, but it's that oval on the left that kind of looks like an egg.
Yeah.
So what that is there, and this is something that I've had a lot of people reach out to me. I've seen people post about it on Facebook, and they have no idea that it's in the plan. Because a lot of people don't realize that all these things are out there, or that there were meetings that took place where the public was welcome to attend. And it's one of those things where you kind of have to look for it. You have to get on the mailing list through the city, and then you'll get notified about those meetings. But what that is, and it's really kind of exciting, and I think the success of the Almost Friday Fest really shows how this would be used.
Exactly.
Because
it's a band shell or amphitheater.
Right, a band shell or amphitheater, and the proposed concept is a two-sided stage, essentially. One side which would face the green space, similar to the way that the semi-trailer was set
Almost
up
Friday did, yep.
with Almost Friday Fest, and the band was facing that direction. But then there'd be a smaller stage on the opposite side to use for like children's theater or small theater performances or presentations to groups, but still being outdoors.
Maybe like a mime or something, because that way the band could be playing it. But also, I know that you didn't take those those golf carts, but why? It was so far away that people were using the golf carts to get to that green space you're talking about.
Right.
And so it'd be nice for some of the smaller events to be able to flip it around each way. But then also a nod towards I'm glad that it's a good time to get some exercise just walking. I'm glad they have those golf carts, by the way. I'm just kidding about that. But okay.
No, those are, and that worked out really well because, the Almost Friday Fest was so successful that at least a couple of the times that I went, I had to park on the other side of Mississippi Drive. There was no parking at the riverfront at all. It was every single spot was full. And so my next option was I parked in the downtown and then walked across.
You got a chance to, inadvertently, you might have added a couple days, couple of months to your life because of that extra exercise that you're going to get every time you go to Almost Friday Fest, not just through the walking, but through the group connections, through the family events, through eatings. It's healthy to get out and about and talk with your fellow kind. Now, I'm not sure about the productivity on Friday. If you truly go for the Almost Friday feeling on a Thursday, your Friday might feel a little bit more like a Saturday. Now, that's just psychological, but there are some adult beverages there, and so
there are, and local adult beverages too.
Yeah.
So Contrary had some of their beer there, and
now I know why I think it works so well. But do you have a theory as to why it works so well?
I think it was nice because having it on Thursday.
Go back to us, Jeremy.
Makes it so that people still can do with their weekend plans and whatnot. Starts right after the workday ends, essentially. So for me, I could even just leave the office and walk straight down there. But then and it doesn't go too late either. That was honestly, that was one of the things that I kind of found appealing, was that it was an event where you go, you could enjoy some music, nice crowd, food. You had everything you needed right there, so you didn't have to worry about finding a parking spot to go to a restaurant, finding time to go to a restaurant, which you can do it all the other nights of the week. And we've got a number of restaurants in the downtown and throughout Muscatine that are wonderful to eat at. But some of those vendors, or some of the vendors down there, are the restaurants in town. So you've got all of that right down at the riverfront. On the council, we made a change that allowed for the beer sales down there, because that was something that wasn't allowed on the riverfront prior to the Almost Friday Fest.
It had to have been in a beer garden, because it used to be like this cordoned off area, and I noticed that you guys realized that, hey, maybe that's something we can lighten up, especially in an event that ends early like that.
Right, and it's still is cordoned off essentially. There was fencing all along the riverfront walkway, and then a giant rectangle is what we ended up with down there, and so it made it. So there's that specific area.
My theory is that Great River Days is no longer existing, and this is kind of like a 4-part version of that. So we're almost starving for the Great River Days,
Right.
but actually seems like this might even be a better way to do that, because Great River Days is a huge
Right.
thing to accomplish. And unless Keep Muscatine Beautiful decides just to take it on, or another group stands up, this might be the best compromise, is to still have that opportunity for people to come out and about, and not have it be so overwhelming as a full-on 4-day event.
Oh, exactly. And I think it's it kind of fills that need that people have with the Great River Days
Exactly.
Did before, but like you said, with Great River Days, it was all crammed together in one event, whereas this is just a fairly casual event once a month throughout the summer.
And it gets a chance, if you're one of those people that live in Davenport and you come in and have a job here, and then it gives you a chance to, it'd be hard to convince them to come back to Muscatine. It gives people from out that work, that live out of town to stay a couple hours. And I think that's why they had it at 5, because to me, I would like to exercise a little bit, then go.
Sure.
Just because it fits my lifestyle a bit better. But I think works out well. It's just like, hook them while they're here, and have it end at a time that it feels a little more family friendly.
Exactly.
And all the restaurants and bars downtown will welcome you to come out at 9 and stay till 10 or 10:30 or whatever you do on your actual Friday. Okay, now let's go to the next photo. Number 4 would be the 4th one down there. So I want to show you some band shells. And these are all in Iowa. I don't all remember where they are. Now, this isn't my proposal, but this is literally a band shell. And as you know, that's not what's being recommended right now. But I could still envision that if we had it for Almost Friday, we would enjoy having something like that. Acoustically, it actually pushes the sound a certain direction. Go to the next slide.
And that's a good point too, because I have had some folks reach out to me with concerns
About sound.
sound,
this
because
one.
they live up on the bluff, or they live in a spot where the Almost Friday Fest it's been kind of blasting them out of their own homes, and I think was kind of the way that it was described. And so one thing I would want to make sure is that as we look at a permanent structure, that we make sure that it's designed in a way to sculpt that sound away from the homes. So it would be. There's plenty of technology out there with design, engineering, and they would be able to design it in a way that could really make sure that the sound was more focused on the crowd area that would be there. So.
And we used to have Great River Days up closer towards the bridge, and it was more of an industrial situation.
Right.
So the H&I workers didn't mind listening to the Shana Na or Night Ranger or Puddle of Mud or whatever was playing. So I'm not sure why they chose to put it down there, but it reminds me of the firework issue. There's always going to be you can't please everybody, and
Right.
I hope that people, especially if the event would go past 10 or 11, you have to listen to them, but you have to kind of think, well, 10 people didn't like it, 100 liked it. Let's go. Hopefully everybody can get along. Here's another band shell. I don't remember where it is. I think a lot of these are in Des Moines, but this is my point with this one is that it's a lifted up stage and there's lighting up there, but it's an opportunity to have an artwork, obviously. Go to the next slide. That's one heck of a wedding going on there.
That's an interesting stage.
Yeah, this one I think is I don't know. These are all in Iowa. I think this is Des Moines, and as you can see, it's almost like a mock bridge, And there's lighting up there, so you wouldn't have to reinvent the wheel with the lighting. I'm sure the bands would have lighting brought in too.
I think that one's Cedar Rapids,
Yeah, okay.
maybe.
Yeah. These are just some fun examples. Okay, go ahead to the next slide.
Yeah, actually, I went to the one that was that last slide, I went to a bacon festival in that park at one point in time.
Yeah.
Downtown.
Here's a mock-up of, this is probably some other city's, proposal, and we'll have one of these for ours. I think we do on the comprehensive plan.
Yep. Yeah, if you go out to that.
A couple options of what currently is proposed for our amphitheater. That's kind of a cool one. It's more of a circle, and if you look at that one, it actually goes both sides too.
Mm-hmm.
So that little big oval. You can walk your dog or maybe not your dog, but you can walk your kids. Do some laps while you're listening to your favorite cover music. Next slide. Here's another option. Now that one isn't raised up, so that kind of a flaw, but I kind of like the idea. And there's some sound sculpting there, but it's not over the top.
Mm-hmm. Well, and so, and that's the thing. They can work it in so that it's not obvious that they manipulated the structure just to sculpt the sound. You can have it be artistic and have that work out just fine.
Next photo.
And one of the other parts of it too is, we're looking at having built-in sound equipment so that there would be some stuff on site already for smaller presentations where they wouldn't have to find a way to get sound
Next
equipment
photo.
down there, speakers and things like that. Which also, that's one of the things, that it's a little bit related to this, but we're looking at including in some of the design for the refacing of Second Street, is we're also looking at including permanent speakers in the downtown, so that when there's events going on like the holiday stroll or some of the other events that go on in the downtown, the Second Saturday, things like that, there can be music playing that's specific to that event. But what we can also do, what we would also be able to do with that, is have themed music playing throughout the year, just nice little background music in the downtown, or even things that are announcements and things like that, talking about different things that are going on.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of, exactly. What kind of things would be on there? Can you put the graphic back up that explains what we're talking about? In case people just tuned in, we're talking about the Riverfront development, and specifically an area that I think is along the lines of the Almost Friday Fest and other opportunities for bands, musicians, politicians, theater artists. I can think of a lot of different people and community members who could use this stage. I like to think of it as a pickup open mic opportunity for aspiring musicians to come, and just on a Thursday night, maybe it's an open jam session, with the PA system there, the lighting, all sorts of different ways the community can use a band shell. And the weather's not always going to be perfect, but there's a great opportunity to come out and enjoy the Riverfront in addition to other things during that weather. Go to the next slide. I really like that one. Some of these are a little more higher end, obviously. Okay, so one of the reasons I'm interested in this is because I'm an aspiring musician, and this is proof. That's me at the Night of Notables as Elvis when I was in middle school at the West Middle School, which West was best compared in the whole Midwest. And next slide. And this is proof that I was still at it a few years ago. Here I am pretending to playing the guitar. And in the background is the poster. So here's the last slide of my little segue here. That actually is in Flushing, that band shell. But my band's name is Oral Exam, and Musco Tour 2017 did not happen. But I would be happy to have our world premiere of my band play at the new amphitheater, and so that's my interest in it.
Maybe I could even sit in for a song or two on bass.
You play bass, perfect.
Yeah.
And maybe if
I don't know if I play bass is what I do. I play at playing bass.
Ride the E string a little bit. We'll never know.
Yeah.
And that's why I was giggling when you were talking about those speakers. It's like, depending on what's happening, that may or may not be a good idea to just share that past the audio. Okay, so here's the segue here. What I really wanted to talk about today was merge, maybe the Peace Park a little bit. I don't know much about that, so I might stay away from that. But the merge development. So go to the next slide, because I want to make sure. The next slide is the Waterloo's amphitheater. Now, they have a different geographical situation where they have a slope down, so they let nature kind of run its course here. But wow, isn't that beautiful?
And we, in some of the planning that's been done for our riverfront, there's some similar scalloping, steps like that, and and some things set up, not with the band shell, but with some other designs around the riverfront area.
Yep, I think I know where you're talking about. Especially the old boat launch would have been an area for a garden, prairie grass. Okay, so let's look at the next slide. This is in Waterloo. The reason I'm talking about Waterloo is because among other places that merge has, what's that say? We're private. We're private.
Where when private capital meets untapped potential.
Okay, so I don't work for Merge, and well, that's all I mean to say there. But I've heard good things about him. And the Waterloo mayor, this is a quote from the Journal or something, but the Waterloo mayor said if he had more land to give, he only wishes he had as much land as Muscatine had, because of how great they helped transform the Waterloo development. And the reason I'm showing you that band shell is because that was part of the plan. You know, that's the end of my thought. And now, in our case, Merge doesn't have anything to do with the amphitheater.
Right.
But it's still kind of giving you that feeling that this sort of thing, this sort of boost to our economy brings things that you just saw. Go to the next slide, and then I'm going to give Kelcey a chance to talk about that. So I'm going to be quiet here as you explain to me how you understand the Merge situation, because I've got a lot of questions as to why it's not a greatest thing ever. But here is where it's at. The city bought this land for $50,000. Correct me if I say something that's wrong.
No, it was substantially more than that.
500?
50, yeah. I think it was closer to 500,000 or so.
Yeah, 500,000.
The
Go ahead.
You know, this is an area referred to as Carver Corner.
Yep.
And that's because Carver Pump used to sit there.
Yes.
And so at one point in time, Carver Pump was located there, and so it's referred to as Carver Corner. And there's been a variety of concepts put together for how to handle the Green Street Hershey intersection.
A roundabout.
Roundabout. You know, I've had a number of people, say, well, why don't you just take Mississippi Drive and connect it straight across to Grandview? Well, then that would create an island of land there that might be totally functional for something, or we might end up just with people going 50 miles an hour through, from Mississippi Drive to Grandview. And that's one of the issues that we run into with street design.
Trying to slow people down.
Trying to slow people down without frustrating them too much.
Yep.
And it's a difficult balance. So back onto this topic though. So the city had put out a request for proposal for developers to take a look at this piece of land and see if they had any concepts they could come back with. And there was only one developer that came back with any proposal, and that was Merge. And that would include utilizing the what's called an opportunity zone, which is an economic development tool that allows companies to get some money from the federal government to work towards developing an area that is underdeveloped, maybe low-income neighborhoods, things like that. And so they came back with a proposal that would be to put in kind of high-end apartments with some commercial space, a little bit of green space next to it. It was a very nice proposal.
Mixed residential, so that could be condos, apartments, probably not housing per se. Go to the next slide.
Not houses, no, but
mixed residential.
Basically, it was about four apartment buildings is really what it kind of looked.
And these are just examples of other cities that they've done in Wisconsin. So carry on though. So that might be what one of their buildings might look like. This is not saying they do it, but these are the kind of things that Merge is proud to have been able to bring to other communities.
And speaking with, I spoke with the mayor of Waterloo, and he had a lot of great things to say about Merge. Said that they had really worked well, directly with his community to do really nice projects there. And I don't know if you recall the vote, but I did vote against approving or accepting the Merge RFP for the development of that corner when it came up for a vote. I subsequently brought it back at the next meeting and voted yes on
Tell us about
approving it.
That.
But I was uncomfortable with.
Yeah, why were you uncomfortable? Because that's what I wanted.
With that, with
Next
the proposal, because one of the things I really want to see a grocery store for South End, and one of the things that was talked about in the proposal was the ability to put a grocery store on the first floor, and so that part excited me. But I'm also looking at this potential $30 to $50 million development going in right next to housing that is nowhere near that that level of value. And
But
so,
if you put a $50 million investment right there, I guarantee you there'll be a grocery store in the South End, because now there'll be the demand for some
Right.
shopping.
so the issue, but my
but
concern.
it doesn't have to be right there. Is my point.
My concern with it though was that these are not low-end apartments. These
That's
are
true,
not,
yep.
you know,
I've
these
heard
these
that.
are priced or suggested to be priced, I should say, because I'm not sure where it's at right now. But the suggestion would be to price them at a level that would be above the average rent for apartments in Muscatine,
And that would bring-
and some on the much higher end, which would be great. You know, we do have the need for that kind of housing here in Muscatine. We have, you know, it's like estimated 6,000 to 10,000 employees in Muscatine that don't live here.
So if those
they
people,
come work
those
here and then
people
they go home.
would rent there, and then that money and that economy boost would provide opportunities for low cost housing to happen.
Possibly, but one of the other concerns
How
that
would
I have
you-
with it,
Go ahead.
would be that you put
Next slide.
an investment of that level that raises that property value that much, it's going to impact the properties near it. Now, you might think, oh, that's great. It's gonna make them worth more. However, what it does is if the people that live there can't afford to move, or on a fixed income or low income, then their property tax is gonna jump up, because their property is suddenly going to be worth more money simply because there's this huge investment sitting right next to it. And that's where we get into issues where, you know, it's called gentrification. We have people, you develop a really expensive property, and that's great. It's good for the city. And this was why I was so torn on this and why I had so much issue voting yes or no on it, honestly, because we need to raise our tax base in Muscatine so that we can get rid of certain things like the utility franchise fee, where we're charging an extra 5% on everybody's gas bill.
Yeah. Next slide.
You know,
Yep.
we've got traffic cameras, which personally people shouldn't speed, but I think you should get a ticket from an officer.
And we could fill potholes. I'm not trying to be funny, but we can
Oh,
fill
that's-
potholes with
that's a
some of
huge
that money.
issue.
Instead of raising taxes, we can use, it's like 300,000 extra per year for the city,
Right.
same amount for the schools, and then same amount for the county. If just with their investment, and that money could be earmarked for things like fixing the streets instead of raising the taxes of our residents.
Well, and we haven't technically raised taxes in
No.
like 9 years.
Just dealt with the potholes
Now,
as they are.
People's
And-
taxes that they pay go up because property values increase. Property values increase, you know, with the economy. So if the economy is doing even just okay, your property value is going to go up. So you're going to occasionally see that increase in tax on your property, you know, on your home.
And we need more low-income housing, but, and this is, I believe the way to have low-income housing is as properties age and they become worth less. I mean, quite frankly, you know, if you think about a $350 apartment in Muscatine, it's probably in an older house that's, you know, on its last legs. And I mean, what else would you put there, I guess? Or give me some more ideas, because
Well-
the idea that people don't want their property value to go up is again why you said you were torn, because that's definitely a good thing.
Well, it's mixed.
When you get ready to sell, they're going to really like the fact that they've got a property worth more.
Right.
But then where they're going to move to might be what you're worried
Exactly.
about. It's like,
And,
okay,
you know, and so it's one of those things where I did choose to, like I said, I chose to bring it back
Thank
for a
you.
vote. I voted yes. It moved forward. I don't know where it's at right now. I haven't had any further communication from city staff on that particular topic. So
next slide, please. That's in Waterloo, by the way. And these are not proposed. This is not what ours would look like. I'm not even slightly. Who knows what they got up their sleeves with that? But so don't get scared. I don't know. I almost didn't want to put too nice of a house, because I know that's the pushback. Is it's going to be too nice or too. Again, it's hard for me to say that without giggling, because I mean, I really think that we are trying to get the people that work here and then spend all their money and their property taxes up in Davenport. That's a shame. And part of the reason they do that's because there's not enough places to live and there's not enough to do. But almost Friday Fest called Muscatine, the soapbox there, we are addressing the not much to do thing
Right.
as we speak. There's a new, Booney's opened up a new place called Proof Social. There's a new barbecue pit. I mean, the list goes, the hotel itself is a whole new great opportunity. So, I mean, I think this was like the shining gem of like, yes, I can't believe this
But-
is happening.
but
But potentially.
it's really also the last chunk
Next slide.
of undeveloped riverfront.
Don't you want something like
And-
this to
and-
happen in Muscatine, though?
Well, this can happen anyway.
Well, but it will be,
That's not dependent upon that. I mean, that can happen anyway. And that wasn't going to go in as part of that
Last
development.
slide, please.
What was going to go in was 4 apartment buildings. Very nice ones, yes. But 4 apartment buildings is really what it was, with retail or some sort of commercial space on the ground floor of a couple of them.
okay.
You know, and so, yes, it's a development that I would love to see here in Muscatine, but I wasn't 100% convinced that was the right spot for it,
Yeah.
because that is a very unique spot in this nation. If you look at it, if you look at the map, that is where that is the only spot the Mississippi River does that sharp of a turn in that form.
That's where the clams were definitely posited because of the bend.
Right.
In the pearl
You know,
clamming days.
that's where, you know, the slough used to go right across there.
It's not the most flattering chunk of real estate as far as
Well,
the
not right
riverfront
now.
views. Well, but also, I'm glad GPC exists and I'm PW, but you can't help but to notice that to the right is it's a
Sure.
pretty big industrial.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, and so then that gives me you know, I mean, there's concerns there that yes, we would get this really nice big development in
Okay.
that would have different incentives to be able to build, and that would reduce the build costs. And then what does it become in 15 years?
Do you think Merge would entertain the opportunity to put that idea somewhere else in Muscatine?
I don't know. I would definitely
Because that
welcome.
that's not a horrible. I mean,
Right.
I'm not all. It doesn't matter if it's there.
Right.
'Cause maybe it should be up by the mall area or whatnot.
Or even near the base of the bridge. There's property over in that area. You know, there's property just, you know, like right next to H&I over there.
So maybe we can have.
So-
Yeah. I mean,
You know, I mean, there's a lot of there's other options for merge development within opportunity zones in Muscatine. And like I said, I voted to move it forward,
Yeah,
so I'm
thank you.
still open to that discussion. I'm still open to looking at that proposal for that area.
nobody
I
else.
just-
Nobody else.
Have a lot of concerns.
Nobody else put a proposal together. Or
No, nobody did. You know,
So
and
if that doesn't happen, then the city just holds on to the property,
correct.
and
And that's the thing. I mean, that's
not a good thing.
If we don't do anything with it,
you paid $500,000 for it. Not you personally, but we did.
right? Well, and that's one of the,
500
that's
grand.
the issue that some people have had, is that the property would be sold for a fraction of that.
Where private capital makes everybody's life better. I didn't read their quote again, but
Yeah, so, but anyway, so, you know, some people's concerns was that the property would be sold to a private developer for a fraction of that cost. I had a little less concern about that, because I do understand that when you raise the value of the property that much, we're gonna make that money back in tax revenue.
If they're going to throw down
over time.
$52 million, we can give them a break. Yeah, I think they were buying it
Well-
for $50,000 or something.
Right, about 50,000 was
That's
the
where I got
proposed,
my numbers.
was the proposed sales number, and that was not a hard number either. I mean, there hasn't been any contracts in place. There was the proposal that we got, and that's where it's at right now.
It's kind of hard to ask more than $50,000 when there's no other bidder. Or is there? Is this Peace Park a bidder, or maybe the city in itself is the other bidder because they think maybe keep it for ourselves, and then that way the city can control more of the riverfront. But I think the city's got enough of the riverfront, quite frankly. They're doing a great job with it. So this could probably be not the city's. Maybe we, have a little chunk of
Well,
it.
and I do think that, depending on what goes on with Merge, if they end up not developing there, then I don't see the rush. I mean, this property's been, sitting the way it is for some time. It does need, we do need to do some cleanup there. But, there's also a brownfield there that may or may not still exist after testing is done. And if you're not familiar with what a brownfield is, that's where there's been some pollution of some kind that means you can't build certain types of structures in that
Okay.
area. So, you put a park or a parking lot on top of that area. But, there's some belief that probably at this point is dissipated enough that it wouldn't be a problem any longer. But the thing is, there are other potentials for that piece of land if Merge doesn't move forward with it. And like I said, right now, I don't know. I haven't heard anything from city staff since we voted to move forward with that, accepting that request for proposal, so.
I could talk about that all day, but actually I think we're at a good stopping point because I ran out of things to say, and you explained your perspective very, very well, because I didn't watch the vote and I was confused as to what could possibly be
sure.
the counterpoint. And now I have a feel for, now I can understand why you were kind of torn in the middle. So I'm glad you opened it back up.
Yeah, and I did want to really quick touch on that, and I know we're getting close on time here, but my concern about the grocery store that would go into that space is that it would be, marketed, it would be tailored to the same income level that is in that would be, those apartments would be tailored to, which probably would not provide the grocery store we need for South End. And it wouldn't help is my concern.
Yeah, I don't.
So,
that'd be it.
If
Grocery store there maybe wouldn't be the best place for it, but I think the old Sun Mart. I just know if I had some money and I was open a grocery store, there was one, and there wasn't enough. It didn't work. Oh, at some point it didn't work because that seems like a logical place to have a grocery store. I'm just telling you, if this merge thing goes through, there will be a grocery store in downtown in South End. It won't be in the merge development probably because that, like you're noticing, maybe is not the best fit for it.
No, they absolutely. That was one of the selling points on that for
to have
that
it
wouldn't
be an expensive grocery. I mean,
was that it would be a grocery store at the ground floor because they would have
who'd
about
the franchise be?
They'd have about 300, units of.
Oh. And they would
above
need
them.
food.
They'd have a captured market.
They wouldn't want to have to drive to Fairway
Right.
or Walmart.
And so they'd bring it, and they would bring in a grocery store. But like I said, that still doesn't address the grocery store need for South End.
That is South End.
Because it might be on the edge of South End. But think about, like I said, these are higher end rentals.
So it's too nice of a grocery store.
So think about, the new Pioneer Co-op in Iowa City.
Yeah, that's expensive.
There's, you can get organic food, you can get all these different things there, but it's not affordable. And that was my concern is if it's marketed, if it's something that is there because of the people that live in those buildings, then how does it really do anything for the residents of South End that are then going to also be struggling with their property tax raising?
I'm just know that money is going to trickle down in all the South End people's pockets in the same way anything does when you invest money and bring it back into the community. It doesn't matter if you're a janitor or a contractor or an executive. When you bring money in the city like that, it boosts the economy in a lot of different ways that'll allow people maybe to afford a little bit more groceries. But I know there'll be a grocery store in the South End if this happens because it's in the front end of South End. It's actually, I would think if you're a South End resident, you'd be happy to know that, hey, we're getting some love. And with the new corridor improvements, the Grandview corridor is the next on the block. So
Absolutely.
the Grandview, maybe people should come complaining about that. We don't want the streets to be too nice because it's going to raise our property value. It will. But you can, and again, that's probably why you were torn because it's like, really? I mean, we're getting in trouble for now the property values go up because it's too nice of a place to live down there.
And that, but that is a real problem. And
I know.
And that's where,
Gentrification, yep.
Absolutely. And that's where you have neighborhoods that go from very affordable property, very, easy to obtain to completely unaffordable.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm glad you're able to kind of think that through along those lines too. And that's why a nice diverse council is important because we're going to talk about elections, but my concern with elections coming up, there might have been a lack of diversity if I'm thinking about it 4 years ago. If diversity means that you're not a white male over a certain age, then maybe. But the point of diversity that you're reminding me of is that there were 6 me's on the council, this would be a done deal, and I think it would be a great deal. But I wouldn't have thought about it from your perspective, and I'm glad your perspective's there because that's what makes a good council is diverse thoughts and empathetic interests that represent the whole of the city.
Yeah, and it's important to have a wide variety of opinions on the city council.
Yeah.
And I think we have that right now.
Yeah, seems like
that previously maybe not, but I do think we have that now. And I think with the range of candidates that are in the upcoming election, I think we've got the opportunity to have a good diverse group even after the election.
Now the problem though, I'm just worried about, nobody's running against the mayor, for example, not that they should, but I would have liked to have seen a little bit of some. It's nice to have voting options.
Right. It's always good to have an opponent.
And the same with the 3rd ward is unopposed, and another one's unopposed, I think.
First ward and
Third
ward
okay.
are the 2 unopposed wards.
And I guess it could go the other route, though. I mean, as far as diversity goes, maybe I'm talking about partisan politics, a little, because you kind of mentioned that there was a concern that. But what if it goes the other direction? I don't even know what I'm saying necessarily, but what if everybody's got this other viewpoint that seemed to be disparaged between the old one, and now everything's kind of leaning to the, I dare I say left, but to a more liberal-minded approach? Maybe I'm going the wrong direction.
I think that based on the candidates that are running, I don't see any way, honestly, I don't see any way that it could end up,
Okay.
if you look at,
That's
if
reassuring.
that it could end up one-sided. I really don't, it's particularly if you look at the unopposed candidate and, and candidates in first ward and third ward, they're both, I believe, two different political parties. They're both intelligent people. They're both, have good ideas and have the best interests of the city in mind. So they've got two different viewpoints,
Yeah, good.
but
Because like you said, that's important.
it's important, and that, like I said, that is important. It's critical that we have people from, different walks of life and from, different stations where they're at right now, and
And the
to be able
school-
to.
The school board candidates mentioned something that I'm kind of addressing what you're mentioning, is that all the votes lately anyway are just unanimous in favor or opposed. Like there almost should be a little bit of pushback one or the other to explore the decisions that you're making.
Sure.
And so a school board candidate, that's one thing they were hoping, is that there might be every once in a while, like there's some diversity, because that means that people are concerned about something and want to think it through a little bit more before they just kind of blindly pass everything through. And you
Yeah.
can't do that if everybody's just exactly the same, with respect to their demographics and their cultures and their values.
Yeah, and I don't know about the school board because I don't watch too many of their meetings. I try and keep up on the issues that they're talking about, but I know on city council a lot of times we'll have almost an entire meeting where it's just yes votes all the way through, and that used to confuse me before I started getting involved. And a lot of times what happens is, if you pay attention to those, there'll be the information about what's being voted on, and then right at the end of it, before it goes to vote, in the description it'll say, and this amount was in the budget, or this was budgeted. So these are things that we decide as a group at the beginning of the year. So the council, city staff get together and work on the budget at the beginning of every year. And so a lot of those decisions are made at that point in time, and then the fine details are worked out. And if nothing changes from the goals that were set during budget season, then it just gets voted. Just gets voted through because we've already talked about it.
You've done your homework, and you've done your work already, and so now we don't have to have a 3-hour meeting every Thursday.
And that's something where the public are welcome to come to those budget sessions.
Yeah, they sound
one
long,
or two members of the public is all that ever shows up to those.
well. You got to feel for them a little bit. I wish there was a way to truncate the budget session into a little more palpable way to digest it.
There, you can go on the city's website. Look at the council agenda.
Yep.
For it's in February, end of January, beginning of February is typically when it's scheduled, and it'll be a list of what items are going to be discussed at different points in time.
So you can
So
go
that
in
is
just
all,
to that
that's
part.
all broken out. So if you have something in the city that you feel really strongly about, you can attend the budget session that applies to that particular topic.
That's good to know. We could talk for hours and hours, but I know we wanted to talk about the election. At least could you remind people when it is and exactly who you're voting for?
Oh.
I thought about declaring that, then I realized there's no point in that. If I wanted to not have as much business opportunities in town, but it's a personal, private issue.
Yeah.
But people should vote.
Well, and that's, and I don't want to get too sidetracked, but yeah, I mean, that's something where, a lot of times business owners, they will be very careful
Yeah, exactly.
about it. I used to own a small business in Muscatine, and I did not express my political views. I've come full circle on that. I don't own a business anymore, and a number of people are aware, I'm also the chair for the Muscatine County Democratic Party. So that's pretty partisan,
Yeah.
But
I can feel for people, like there's no payoff to saying, hey, I'm voting
Right.
or I oppose this person, because if the people that are in favor of that person, now you might have lost business for no real gain.
Yeah, and so and that's one, so I in my partisan role, which I very much separate from council,
Okay.
and I think, and I've had people comment to me that they see that.
Yeah.
There's decisions that I've made, there's arguments I've made at council that might even seem contrary to the other hat that I wear.
Nice. Yep.
So it's about what's best for Muscatine. And I try to always make that decision, and so that's what I hope the candidates that we get also have in mind, what's best for Muscatine. This is not about us as individuals. It's not about, what do we get from being on the council. It's about what can we give to Muscatine. And so we might make the wrong decisions. We might make the right decisions. But if we do it with the best interests of our city then hopefully it'll work out.
Great.
Now, the election, you can go vote right now. You can go to the audit. Well, maybe not this.
I'm kind of busy. I'm kind of busy.
Not this minute, but you can go
I should
down
just walk out.
to the county auditor's office.
Okay.
It's on 3rd Street, across from the.
It's on November
courthouse.
5th?
Well, you can go tomorrow.
It's November 5th?
But November 5th
Okay.
is the actual election day. But you can do early voting now.
Okay.
And sometimes that's beneficial because if you happen to be in the area, you say, hey, I've got 5 minutes, I can run in there and do it real quick. So you can go in, vote, your vote's done, you don't have to worry about it.
What if between now and next Tuesday, November 5th, like some bombshell, about one of the candidates?
Well, and that is a possibility. You know, there was. I supported a candidate a few years ago that I was really glad I didn't vote early because and this wasn't a local candidate.
Yeah.
It was at a different level.
I was just devil's advocate.
You know, and no, that's absolutely true. So if you're going to vote early, absolutely get to know your candidate. I mean, they should be having events. They should be doing things where you can reach out to them. They should be available for phone calls or email or through social media. And that will allow you to, that'll allow you to make an educated decision. So otherwise, wait till the last minute. Take on Tuesday, go out to your local polling place and you can find the information about where you vote. You can go on the county auditor's website. Leslie's got that all laid out on their on her website. Leslie Sewell has been our county auditor for a long time, does a great job. She happens to be on a different political party than me. I think she does great. I have no questions about it.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to point out.
I couldn't tell what you were at first because I saw some on Facebook, whatever, that you were Republican, and I think they were joking, but I agree with you. I couldn't tell because you do it right on the council. It's about what's best for the city.
Right.
And at MCC, we try to remind ourselves that what's best for the students. When you're thinking about things, it's like, what's best for the students? I mean,
Yeah.
it could be anything from parking to when to have special events, but what's best for the city?
Yeah.
And if each council member thinks from that perspective, and then of course their individual wards, they have to kind of be mindful that there are some differences within the wards.
Yeah, and that's
Then-
and give a real quick synopsis on that. We've got 5 wards in Muscatine, and so there's 1 council member for each of those wards, and then we have 2 at-large. So I'm one of the at-large members. Santos Saucedo is the other at-large member currently, but he's not running for re-election. So there's 4 people running for that seat. We'll see how that goes.
That's the big one.
Really important. Get out and vote on the 5th. That's Tuesday. Polls, I think, are open until 9, but don't wait till the last minute. And
I'm going to wait till 8:59 because you never know. There might be some last minute shenanigans going on.
this is also the first year where we've had school board and city council at the same day.
Oh.
So that was something that was different this year. It used to be school board was voted on in the summer, was when they had their election.
Ah.
Now it's been combined. Makes more sense to me. Hopefully we have a good turnout. A couple years
Yeah,
ago.
you get more yard signs that way.
And well, there's that. in 2017, we had one of the biggest turnouts Muscatine's ever had, percentage-wise, for voting. For a local election. So hopefully we see something like that again. And then real quick,
Go ahead. Go
on
ahead, look at the camera there and tell the audience whatever I didn't remember.
putting my partisan hat on, so my Democratic hat. Upcoming this Sunday, we do have a couple more presidential candidates coming to Muscatine. So we've got Beto O'Rourke will be here at 12:15 to 2:15 actually here at MCC at the Student Center. So come see him, see what he's got to say. That's on Sunday, 12:15 to 2:15. And then Elizabeth Warren will be making her first visit here, because Beto's actually been here before, but he's coming back because he sees Muscatine as a valuable place to get his message across. But Elizabeth Warren will be here later on, same day, Sunday. She'll be here from 3:15 is when doors open, and then the event starts at 4:30, and that'll be at Jefferson Elementary. So 2 presidential candidates this Sunday here in Muscatine. I think we've had 16 of them now, 16 or 17. And I know it's a huge field, which confuses a lot of people. One of the biggest things that I hear from that, from my role with the Democratic Party is, oh my gosh, how do I choose? There's so many. And I'll be honest, I feel a little overwhelmed as well. Now, I'm
It'll
not taking,
whittle down though.
It will. They're holding out for the Iowa caucus. I mean, Iowa, this is why we have so many. And a lot of people I don't think realize kind of how spoiled we are here.
Yeah.
And it was the same way the last time that the Republicans had a lot of candidates. You know, we saw a lot of candidates come through Muscatine, and it's something that, you know, I've got friends all around the country, and they'll see the posts I put on Facebook and say, how are you seeing all of these people? And I'm like, well, I don't go anywhere. I just stay in Muscatine, and they come here.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and granted, I do a little bit of work to get them here,
Yep.
but you know, you know, we just had Joe Biden here the other day, and you know, and I expect we'll have more returning.
It's fun
than
to
we've
think you
already
might
visited.
be
Right.
meeting or shaking hands with the future
Absolutely.
president. So that regardless, that's a flattering thing, and I was
Yeah.
lucky, and hopefully that people appreciate that.
Yeah.
We could go on about that as well, but we'll wrap it up a little bit here. So thank you for watching Muscatine Viewpoint. If you're watching the live version on Channel 9, I know it got cut. Can you take my camera? What's going on here? Oh, I see what he's trying to avoid the backdrop there. But it got cut off. We're a little rusty here at Channel 9. We're a little, you know, we don't have a huge staff here. 0.75 people work at Channel 9 as far as I go. Not even a full-time position at Channel 9. It's only 0.75. But anyway, if you were watching Channel 9, it got cut off. That wasn't because Kelcey said something offensive or me. It was a technical error, but you can watch the rebroadcast on 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. on Channel 9. Or right now, go to YouTube. It is streaming live. Just rewind and look at what you missed, because you did miss some pretty interesting topics. Anyway, next week we'll probably be taking a break. Let this one rewind. But next season, Muscatine Viewpoint will be back, and we're looking for people to be on the show. You could be a guest host, and you'll be able to get involved online more prolifically next season, because we'll have Facebook and tweeting opportunities. And we have new remote capabilities, so if you're at home and want to be on the show, you download our app, and you have a phone or a laptop or with a webcam, believe it or not, Kelcey, you can be on the show from home right here on Channel 9. So we're excited to bring you the grand reopening of Channel 9. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.